So I've just finished a blog post there. It's called "Shop Customer Who Refused to Wear a Mask Loses 2 Discrimination Claims at the WRC, the Workplace Relations Commission." This gentleman, Mr. Anthony Little, complained to the WRC that he is discriminated against by Buywise Discount Stores Cost Cutter North Strand in Dublin. He'd been refused entry to the shop in January 2021 for refusing, or he wasn't served actually. I think he may have got in, but he was asked to leave by the manager for his refusal to wear a face mask. He claimed he had an exemption under the Act. He wanted to speak to the owner, so he came back sometime later and spoke with the owner, but the result was the same. The owner was implementing the regulations and the HSE guidelines and so on. At the time, it was January 2021, about wearing face masks in retail shops and so on. So this man, even though he wouldn't tell the shop owner or the manager what his disability was, he believed he could just claim that he had an exemption, had a disability, and therefore wasn't obliged to wear it. He brought not one but 2 claims to the WRC. One was for the refusal by the shop manager to serve him or allow him to be served, and the other was against the owner of the shop. When he went to the WRC, then the hearing was in March, I think, and the decision was just there last week. I've done a blog post there on my website, employmentrightsireland.com. But at the WRC, he was asked about the disability that he claimed, and he did accept that he didn't tell the shopkeeper what his disability or his claimed disability was, because he did not believe he was obliged to do so. He thought that you could just claim an exemption under the relevant legislation not to wear the face mask, and that he wasn't obliged to give any reason, as it were, to the shopkeeper. The WRC asked him, or the adjudication officer rather asked him, had he any medical evidence or medical certificate to support his claim that he had a disability, and he said no, he didn't. He was asked what his disability was, and he said claustrophobia. He said wearing a face mask triggered this claustrophobia. He was asked when did he last see a medical practitioner about the claustrophobia, and it was 20 years prior. There was some incident 20 years prior. Not surprisingly, the adjudication officer found that there was no discrimination, as Little had failed to provide any evidence that he was treated less favourably on the grounds of disability. In fact, he had failed to even prove he had a disability. He also failed to show that the shopkeeper had failed to make reasonable accommodation for a person with a disability, because again he simply made the assertion, made the allegation, made the statement that he had a disability without a particle of evidence. The conclusion you can draw from this is that if you want to bring a claim for discrimination that has a prospect of success, you must first prove facts from which a reasonable inference of discrimination can be shown. But you must also show that you have a disability and that you are a protected person under the legislation. And simply stating that you have a disability, simply stating that you suffer from something, may not be enough to show or to prove that you have a disability. And if you can't prove that you have a disability, you certainly can't prove then that you were discriminated against on the grounds of your disability. In this case, as I say, one of the funny aspects or peculiar aspects, the complainant did not even tell the shopkeeper what his claimed disability was, as he did not believe that he had to provide any reason other than to state that he had a reasonable excuse for not wearing a mask. The takeaway from this is you must prove your case. You can make statements on social media platforms, you can make statements on Facebook groups, you can make them on Twitter, you can make them on Instagram or anywhere else, you can make assertions, but when the rubber hits the road, when you go to the WRC or go to court, you must prove your case. And making assertions, merely making assertions, simply isn't enough. Hope you find this video useful. The full blog post is on my website, employmentrightsireland.com, and there's a link in that blog post to the actual decision itself. It's probably one that would be worth having a look at, especially if you're a shopkeeper or in retail, because there's probably a few of these cases in the pipeline, but this may set some of them back. But having said that, if somebody has a genuine disability, then there should be no difficulty with with bringing a claim if they have a genuine disability. But as I say, making a claim, making an assertion isn't enough.